Hello there, G333 here. How to expel negative thinking. Stop beating yourself up. Stop judging yourself and let go of these harsh negative judgments. Stop being so hard on yourself and over self-analyzing yourself. When are you going to get yourself out this crazy cycle of self-loathing and condemnation? What are you doing? Isn't this world hard enough to live in without you in the privacy of your own mind condemning you? So the other day, I went for a walk up to the shop and upon arrival, I noticed that I had forgotten my house keys. I was very quickly overwhelmed with this sudden unnecessary anger and the way I spoke angry with myself quietly in my own head. I said, well, or I'll just say it. I was like, oh fucking hell. I immediately thought, bloody hell, Dav. You have only left your keys, mate. It's not the end of the world. You're being a bit intense, aren't you? This is a small matter, I realized. I breathed in and out and let go of that crazy feeling, that idea. And walked gently back down the road, got back in my house. Sat down and realized I have personified external negativity. Remember, if you talk to yourself in a negative way, if you think in a negative way, well, it's likely that you were instructed to do so at a young age or a point in your younger life. So how to get over negative thinking and stop beating yourself up? Yes, of course we could dive into heavy details about recognizing your self-worth of love. You know there's nothing wrong with you. Everyone feels this way, blah blah and so on. But it goes beyond simply loving yourself. There are many seeds of wisdom, even in their moments of condemnation. For instance, when someone is escaping reality, perhaps high, drunk, or totally out of the face. It's the impulse to destroy the self. But what self? Not the host anatomy, so to speak, not the self that is the awareness, but the self that is the construct. So negative thinking, this sort of inner loathing of the individual. Let's take the example of me and they keys there. There's part of me who doesn't to be a persona anymore. Part of me that doesn't want to be Dav Geezy anymore, with Dave's past, his history and desires. My failure, my flaws as part of me. Wants to transcend it. Transcend it, meaning to overcome this egoic persona. This negative thinking is a misdirected culturalist or sort of pathless impulse. This is one of our major problems of our materialistic and individualistic commodified times. See, there is nowhere for our spiritual impulses to go. Well, there is objectification. Consuming dumb, stupid cultural ideologies. Shallow and stripped of tradition. Stripped of meaning. So we need to recognize the self-impulse of self-pity or self-loathing. It was Eckhart Tolle that said, in his own awakening, came to his realization that I cannot live with myself anymore. That, actually, was the day of his epiphany. So, who are the two people, who is the I, and who is the self that he or I cannot live with anymore? So taking that on board, it appears that the negative thinking is a recognition that there is a witness. A deep heart witness, and indeed the recovery from this negativeness, the mental self-harm comes from this pathway. Realizing you are not the negative thought, but rather you are the awareness. Even after the path I came down and where I am now, I of course still think stupid thoughts. Unwanted, selfish, anxious and fearful thoughts. But now what I tend to do is be the awareness. And be like, look at Dav feeling all angry. Look at Dav feeling negative. Instead of wearing the feeling, the emotions, instead of being obsessed with the identity of Dav, the identity of some walk to loyalty, to my own past. My own history. Although I remember that Dav, I don't identify that persona, that being, as who I am. And part of me still has some a little identification to my younger self. I still feel like that child I was. There are aspects of my life that has been. Wow. How did that all happen? What happened there? How did things path out? It ends such a perfect process. Things have been amazing. Life, the experiences, wow. Amazing. Just like it's happening to all of us. But now surrendering to the awareness, I no longer identify immediately with my own impulses. So I do without by observing it and polarize it into gratitude. This is not denial of the self. We don't want to repress who you are. See, if you feel rage, or feel lust, you don't fight against yourself, against that urge, that impulse. You instead observe and say to yourself, ah, there is that thing. This what is to be alive and to have a body and to actually exist in this world. We need not yield to it. The beginning of your awakening is the rocket fuel you need to take your enlightenment, and you must utilize it or live on the lower planes for all existence. Human life is an opportunity for you to be able to ascend beyond materialism, individualism, and the cultures of your low civilization, the time for materialism and commodification that we happen to be born into. But, within you, there lies deep, deep truth. There is a powerful force within us all. A realized potential for awakening and realization, and it is continually in communion with you, talking with you even now. If you can hear these voices, without being plagued by the suggestions, then you have a chance of transcendence. For example, if I hear, you forgotten fucking house keys, I can just breathe in and out, observe and realize it is that thing again. Instead of saying, oh yeah, that's me, or becoming that feeling of, oh yeah, that's me. There is many, many people in here. Like there are many, many people in there. Many, many things trying to realize themselves and each other. As with quantum physics, the electron is here, and there, and both, and neither. A super state of potentialities. Some have referred it to God. Simultaneously possible all realities. Simultaneously realized to overcome the negative thinking. Hear it. Listen to it. But don't identify it. This is not something you will be able to do on day one. But if you continue to practice it, if we continue to practice it, then, perhaps, we'll all get somewhere together. That concludes the content. Thank you for listening. Peace and much love. Easy 333.